This is the cactus farm we built last episode. It works great, but it's a pretty big eyesore. So in order to make it look better, we are going to transform this desert into a tropical paradise. And while we're at it, we might as well build a better sugarcane farm too. I've got a pretty decent area marked out for all the different builds. We're going to be going for a ruined temple sort of aesthetic, so I want to have the main structure covering the cactus farm, and then we are going to plop the new sugarcane farm off to the left side. We'll also add some giant palm trees, a few aqueducts, and a grand tunnel entrance. But if we want to have a sugarcane farm here, we first need to go take down the old one. We are also going to have to chop down quite a few trees, as these structures are going to require a lot of stripped birch wood and stripped oak wood. That should be enough. I have a few double chests full of wood at this point. I'll be very surprised if we end up needing more. But unfortunately, our work with gathering blocks is not done. I have to go search my world for hay bales. Now, I could make a wheat farm, but I really don't feel like it today, so we're just going to go plunder village after village. And if you're wondering why I must turn these villagers into victims, it's because I need packed mud. And packed mud, as you guys know, is made by combining wheat with regular mud. So just imagine having your entire food source and way of life taken away and uprooted because some diabetic wants to go play with mud. Wild concept. What in the hell is going on over here?
Helicopter, helicopter!
Anyways, speaking of mud, we need some of that. So off to the mangrove swamp. That should get us started. I'm definitely going to have to go out to get more before we are done, but I probably won't include that in the video. We also need some sandstone. And some smooth sandstone. I can't tell you how life-changing this super smelter is. Bone blocks are also going to be a huge part of this build, so we're going to have to AFK at the bone meal farm for quite a bit of hours, maybe even a day or two. I mean, this farm doesn't really run all that fast now that only one side of it's working. I still haven't fixed that. But while we AFK, I figured I'd show you the block gradient I want to use. We're going to start at the bottom with white concrete and then move to bone blocks, then sandstone, followed by smooth sandstone, which will lead into stripped birchwood, followed by oak birchwood. I tested this in my creative world, and for those of you who are Patreon members, you got to see this almost a month early. So if you're interested in early access content, make sure you check that out. And a quick shout out to all my current Patreon and channel members. Moving on, we should still have a ton of white concrete left over from episode 2. I don't know, I may have tossed it to make room for all of the glass we needed for the space whales. Oh, no, yep. There we go. Okay, thank God. We have a ton left over, so instead of flying all the way out to the sand duper to make more, we're just going to try to use what's left of this. And to finish preparations, we'll just tower up a few times to convert this into regular concrete. So as we start to build here, I really want to make these structures blend into the desert as much as possible, but I still want a few features to stand out so that we know that these are indeed man-made buildings. So the core of the build is going to be made up of the block palette I mentioned earlier, going from bone blocks to stripped oak wood, but the main staircases, archways, and support beams will all be made out of packed mud and mud bricks. I'd also like to add a lot of vegetation, but we're going to circle back to that later. Looking good so far. It is way bigger than I thought it would be now that I'm seeing it in our actual world and not just a test super flat location. But nevertheless, I'm still happy with how things are coming along. Now, I think something that would help us put this in perspective a lot is adding in the support pillars I was just talking about. I didn't plan to do those until the end of the process, but I think it might be a better idea to do them now. And I want to do something really simple, probably just a 1x1 pillar with some stairs at the top and oak trapdoors to help ease the transition between the pillar and the walls. Oh yeah, that definitely helped a lot. Yeah, for sure. Adding all those pillars really brought the thing together. It's looking like a more consistent, put together structure now. But we do need to take a quick break from building to go repair our tools. I'm just going to go to the creeper farm since it's closer than the enderman farm. And this also gives us the perfect opportunity to grab some sea pickles because we are going to be needing those as well. So nicely. I can't tell you guys, this is literally straight from my brain so far. This is exactly what I imagined. And I called it. We need more mud. But thanks to that second mud run, we were able to finish the archway for the bridge that we got going on over here. Now, I want to quickly connect the temple to the ground. It looks a little weird just floating there, and I don't like floating objects. Let's ignore the floating starter base for a moment, shall we? Now that that's done, I want to move over to the entrance of this area for a minute and get that started. I need to grab some cocoa beans first though for brown dye because I actually want to try to use brown glazed terracotta to add a pop of color to the build. Decent start. We'll leave it like that for now because I want to quickly start the structure for the sugarcane farm. I know I'm kind of all over the place this episode, but I think if I got the foundation for all the different major builds up first and then went back around to detail them, my brain would be able to process this a little bit easier and we could get this done quickly. Let's get the sugarcane farm in while we are here as well. I'm not going to make the collection system just yet because I have other plans for that, but we can get the machine itself set up. Now that I know where the two major structures are, I want to start preparing for the bulk of this build, which is actually going to be the landscaping and terraforming. I also designed these villager slash tiki head statues that I want dotted around the place, and because we have quite a bit of valuable resources now, I want to start using those valuable resources in my builds to kind of show off our wealth. So we're going to grab some diamond blocks, some emerald blocks, and some gold blocks. And I actually need to enchant a hoe real quick. That way we can quickly collect a bunch of jungle leaves, because we're going to need those as well. But why do I feel like our levels are going to drop below 100 again this episode? I made that whole XP farm last time, and I literally just have been too lazy to go out and use it. We are also going to need to grab some grass blocks as well, and by some, I mean a couple thousand. Before we get started on placing all the grass down, I want to build these villager heads. I think 2 will be just fine. I don't want to have too many of them, and I don't want them cluttering the place. They are pretty big. I also added very small 1-block sugarcane farms in them just so that they have a purpose, but honestly, those farms will take so long to produce any substantial amount of sugarcane that we probably just aren't going to use them. But it's nice to know that they are there so the statues don't feel so pointless. You know, now that we know that there's a sugarcane farm in there, at least in my head, they feel like a more solid structure. Like they do have a purpose, and they're not just these empty husks of nothing. So let's get this grass going too. This little spot right here has been a great test area to see how this design would look covering the rest of the build, and I absolutely love the direction this is going. So let's start marking out some pathways, and then we can begin to transform this desert into the oasis I promised you guys we would have. This is really starting to take shape. I'm just gonna throw some water down on the temple real quick as well. And bam, yes, I am very happy right now. That is a lot cooler than I thought. But we can't stop now. The next thing on our list is creating some pillars that have blue flames coming out of the top. We'll be using regular sandstone blocks with mud walls for accents, and I want these pillars to glow at night, so we are going to put some sea lanterns on the inside. And we are going to use packed ice to help add to the glowing effect we are trying to get. 1 down and 7 more to go. This is going to take a while, but luckily for you guys, I have the power of editing. And there they are. That really adds to the build. Now, I want to have some kind of magical floating stone at the top. This looks so cool. God, am I happy that this turned out right. Now, one of the last things I want to do is add foliage and plants and grass to the parts of the structure that have water in them. Kind of like a hanging gardens situation. Yeah, that little segment looks good, but we're going to need to grab some more moss real quick so that we can finish the rest. Alright, we should be good to finish the foliage. I don't think I'll need more moss than that. Yep, looking good as always. Now that the main temple has gotten some more attention, I want to start on the collection area below the sugarcane farm. So let's hollow this out real quick. That should be more than enough space. I highly doubt we're going to need more than that. But next, we need to create an entrance and then cover the floor and walls in packed mud. I want this to kind of feel like a tomb of some kind. I think that would look pretty cool. With that out of the way, it's time to bring the sugarcane farm back to life and add a collection system. Alright, yeah, I'm okay with this for now. It's very bland, but we aren't ever going to spend a ton of time over here, so I don't need this to be very detailed. Maybe we can add some statues along the walls to help add a little bit of spice. Yeah, okay. I mean, they're not great, but they're very simple, and I think that looks a lot better. Now, let's go back up top, and we should have enough room in here to add at least one other layer to the farm if we build upwards. So let's try that out. Alright, works like a charm. Now we just need to add some torches for light real quick, and we should be done. But speaking of light, I want to go around to all of the pillars on both structures and use sea lanterns covered with trapdoors to add some more detail and to prevent mobs from spawning. And while we're doing this, we might as well throw up a beacon. And since this is a desert oasis that's meant to heal and shelter weary travelers who have been lost to the vast sea of sand, I think it's only fitting that we use a regeneration beacon. I also want to quickly take a look at this thing with shaders. Gorgeous. It's gorgeous. It looks perfect, but we still aren't done yet. We now have to clear out a massive area for our cactus farm collection system underneath the cactus farm itself. Okay, so what I want to do with this area is I want to make it look like a cavern that has been carved out of clay or mud. And I want a bunch of rocks on the floor and water everywhere. I have a bathhouse type of area right outside here, so I think it would be cool if there was a little secret entrance that opened up to a hot spring cave where people could go to relax, but only if you know where it's located. Okay, the roof of the cave is proving to be a bit more difficult than I initially thought, but I'm pretty sure if we just go for a general shape and don't add any consistent block patterns, it should turn out fine. There is a lot of wasted space between the top of the ceiling and where the cactus farm actually is, but we don't really need to utilize it, so we're just going to leave it as it is for now. Oh yes, very cozy. And I think we are pretty much done. I just have to fix up the walls around here and add in some other small details, and the build should be complete. Well, ladies and gents, this is it. I really think this turned out fantastic. Now, the final thing I really want to do is to try and fly through the gap between the temple and the stone. Well, ladies and gents, this is it. I really think this turned out fantastic. I really love how the blues and greens of the lapis and grass really contrast to the reds and the yellows and browns of the sand and mud. And I think I've managed to create a pretty immersive experience when you're walking around this place on the ground. And the tiki heads just look gorgeous, especially at night with the soulfire lanterns glowing. It actually looks kind of ominous. And our sugarcane farm and our cactus farm are definitely working. So we will for sure be visiting here a lot. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you want this build for yourself, you can find the schematics for it on my Patreon, along with the schematics for all my other builds. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day. But as always, I have to get going because I've got more work to do.